This video is unlike any video I've done before. I am not usually known to be a vlogger or a video vlogger. In fact, if I seem nervous to you, it's because I'm not really used to sitting in front of my camera and talking like this. I have much more fun being behind my camera or being at my keyboard playing music in my camera. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my physical disability, what it is, how it affects me, and how I live with it. To begin at the beginning, I am the way that I am because I was born prematurely. My mom says I was born 10 weeks too soon. When I came out, it was rear end first, and I only weighed 2 pounds and 2 ounces at birth. Mom doesn't know why I was born prematurely. I just was. And the physical condition that I have as a result of being born prematurely is cerebral palsy. Now, cerebral palsy, most people know, is a general term for a wide variety of conditions and disorders, which primarily manifest themselves as motor function disorders. The technical term for what I have, in other words, the technical name for the form of cerebral palsy I actually have is spastic diplegia. And all it means in plain English is that I have tightness in one or both of my lower extremities, which of course means my legs and my feet. I have had lots of problems with walking and standing up straight and being accident prone. I used to fall down a lot more often than I do now. And most, if not all of that, is due to the general condition of my legs.
When we're talking about legs and the problems that I have with mine, what we need to understand first is exactly where everything is in the legs and how the muscles in the legs function normally. ByeByeBelly, also known as Jennivision, has given permission for me to use some old clips from her YouTube videos. Thank you very much, Jen. The legs can be divided into 3 sections, or 4 sections if you include the feet. The primary muscle groups that make up the legs start in the upper legs, or thighs, which contain the quadriceps in front and the hamstrings in back. The hamstrings are problem number 1 for me. In the middle of the legs are, of course, the knees. And below the knees are the lower legs, which contain the shins in front and the calves in back. The feet, of course, have their own special sets of muscles. In this clip from one of Jen's weigh-in videos, you can see the backs of the legs, which begin with the hamstrings in the upper legs, the backs of the knees in the middle, and the calves in the lower legs, which go all the way down to the heels and the soles of the feet. So that, in a nutshell, is what the legs normally look like when someone is standing up straight and tall. When all of these muscles function correctly, you can see that everything in Jen's legs is in its proper alignment as she walks.
However, the same cannot be said for my legs and feet. First, before I can stand up from a sitting position, I must always be conscious of how flat my feet are on the floor. And if they're not flat, then I have to make them flat. The reason for this is that if they're not flat, that can lead to its own set of problems. My feet will have turned so far out from where they're supposed to be that I wind up walking on my tiptoes or even my arches and the sides of my feet. I have only been able to stand up for so many minutes before I absolutely must find a chair and sit down. The reason for that is that when I stand up, now I should mention here that it has taken me years of practice and on and off sessions of physical therapy just to be able to stand up straight like this. My legs are now as straight up as I can possibly make them. I can perform stretching exercises to make them straighter than they have been before, but I will never actually be able to straighten my legs to the extent that everybody else can straighten theirs. Okay? So that's factor number one. Factor number two is that my hamstrings are so tight that eventually, if I stand up like this for too much longer, my quadriceps will try to take over from where my hamstrings leave off when they eventually give out. My lower legs will get so tired, I absolutely have to sit down and take a break before I make whatever next move I'm planning to make. My ability to balance myself still lapses occasionally. Since my hamstrings don't relax properly, I can still fall down, but not quite as often as I used to. And that, in effect, is why I have to walk using these, my crutches. And today, I not only use crutches, but recent advances in physical therapy have given me the ability to wear these. I'm not sure if you can see, but these are my lower leg braces. I wear them whenever I can, and these are for straightening out my legs and correcting my gait, and also correcting the tendency of my feet to turn outward that I spoke of in the last part. Lots of people, including kids in high schools, tend to fear what they don't understand. Most of the time that means they fear people who don't look or act or walk or talk the same way that they do. Now, I don't really consider myself any kind of a spokesman for the disabled community in any way, shape, or form. But let me reassure you, you have nothing to fear from us. 99.99999999999 to infinity %. If you give us even half a chance, we will respond in many of the same ways that you do. We get happy, we get sad, we get angry, and we need to form relationships just like everybody else in the world. You know, sometimes I'll sit by myself here in my apartment and try to contemplate what my life up to the present would have been like if I hadn't been born prematurely with cerebral palsy. The obvious answer would be that I would have been born able-bodied, fully functional, and I wouldn't have to use crutches. I might even have had the dexterity required to drive a car, and I would have been given a bit more freedom to move around. But would my mind have been as efficient as my body? Would I have been a math whiz like my sister? Would homework have been less of a chore for me? Would I still have my musical abilities, which you've already seen plenty of evidence? Would I still have perfect pitch? would I still love music as much as I do? Even today, when I think of the college students who lived on my floor, I often wonder if there's another man or woman on crutches with exactly the same tightness in his or her hamstrings as mine, maybe even with exactly the same abilities, strengths, and weaknesses as mine. What it boils down to is that I have seen plenty of people in wheelchairs, whether they're the same age as me, younger than me, or older than me. But I don't think I've ever met a fellow crutch walker. I'm actually one of the luckier cases of cerebral palsy. There are many different variations to the breed, so to speak. Some CP patients, different parts of their bodies are affected. They might have mental difficulties. They might have trouble speaking, writing, or hearing, as well as tightness in their limbs. They might be in wheelchairs. So in some ways I consider myself very lucky to be living in the best of both possible worlds. I can function in the disabled community and I can function in the non-disabled community, and I'm very grateful for that. When you have a physical disability, you learn to make do. You don't really know anything else, any other way to live. You're constantly striving to improve yourself and try to do the best that you can do at life. And it may not necessarily be other people's best that they can do, but you work your way through it and you learn to be comfortable with the results. If you have somebody in your family with a disability, or if you care for somebody else with a disability, the one thing that I would probably not be able to stress enough would be that you must encourage them to strive to be all that they can be. It doesn't matter if they never reach their ultimate goal. They're never going to be able to completely conquer their condition, but they will learn to live with it. And with your help, they will learn to live with it.